Hi, welcome to The Underknown. I'm your host, Jan Perillo, and today we are with the duo called Sunway Street. And this isn't your typical duo that hangs out in their apartment and writes songs all day. This is a duo comprised of Leor Manelis and Stephen Eli, and they don't sit in their apartments all day because they aren't anywhere near each other. Leor is in the Denver, Colorado area, and Stephen is in Italy. They're 6 time zones apart. And you're going to hear about their process of writing together. And it's really interesting the way that they send each other nuggets or skeletons of songs and send them back and forth and get to the point where they actually have a song together. It's surprising how prolific they are given where they're located. It's a really interesting process, and I think that you'll find the collaboration fascinating. They just released a new album called Ghost Town. It wasn't out when we recorded this podcast, but it is out now, and you can hear it everywhere that you get your music. We are going to start off this podcast with a song off that album called The Friend in Me. And when we get into the podcast, you'll hear Stephen talk about the writing of and the creation of The Friend in Me. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Don't second guess yourself. I've been on your mind. Maybe there's a place to get high. All this confusion, let's be dreamers. What do you wanna be when you're older? And every time we look inside, I can maybe open wide. Maybe it's a lover song. Maybe I'm too strong for myself. I just need a little bit longer to get a little bit stronger. I can write you this feeling, drifting from places of healing.
All right, we were just listening to A Friend in Me from Sunway Street, and I am here with both Leor and Stephen from Sunway Street. Guys, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
So, of course, A Friend in Me is off of your latest album, Ghost Town, which was just released on September 26th. And of course, as we're recording this, September 26th is in a couple days, but when people are listening to this, that'll be a couple weeks ago. So, Ghost Town, tell me a little bit about it. What's that? That's actually your second album, but for a group with only with 2 albums, you guys have a lot of songs. So tell me about like your process, and why don't we start with you, Stephen? Maybe talk a little bit about A Friend in Me, the song that we were just listening to.
The Friend in Me is a journey of healing, I guess, and it's going through a place of pain and finding that inner peace and that place of breaking through the loneliness of often being a writer, being an artist, and saying, where is that resolution in healing in life through pain and struggle. And the process is definitely it's an interesting one me and Leor have at the moment, because we both live in different countries. And I initially make the tracks, write the scratch, and then I send it over to Leor's workshop over there, and he brings back some magic.
Yeah, this is actually going to be a really interesting conversation, I think, because I'm really interested to hear how you guys do this, because I've tried to do music across country, and it's you guys are of course cross even the ocean, and it's not an easy thing to do, and you guys have not only done it, but done it to the tune of like I just mentioned, 25 songs in about 2.5 years, 3 years or so. I mean, you guys are relatively new and incredibly prolific. So, this latest album that you guys have, it's, what is it, 11 songs? Is that right?
12.
12 songs. It's 2025, 12 songs, but those aren't the only songs that you've released in 2025. As I was looking at your Spotify, you had like another 4 or 5 songs that are also released in 2025 that aren't going to be on this album. So let's talk about that process a little bit, because it's really interesting. How do you guys write so much without being in the room together? And I mean, you guys are prolific.
music, as cheesy as it sounds, music is just kind of such a big part of who Steven and I are. And when we wake up in the morning and all throughout the day and at night, we're always kind of trying to write new songs and come up with ideas and stuff. And I'm kind of a little riff guy. I'll make a little riff and send it to Steven. Generally, I wake up every morning and there's one or two songs in our WhatsApp chat.
Wow.
And some are bad and some are great. You know, like you got to get through the bad ones to get to the good ones. So it's really easy for me to record here. And I'm very lucky that my wife and my kids are very supportive of, you know, the stuff that I do. And so I hop into my studio and I'll add drums and bass and you know, I think I found a great counterpart in Steven, where someone who enjoys making music and releasing music as often and as quickly as we do. I play in a lot of bands and have played over many, many years in lots of the bands that you write all these original songs and they never see the light of day.
Right.
Like you go to the studio and then it's nobody wants to mix it, or you don't find the right mixer. You didn't like this or didn't like that. And Steven and I, we are very particular about what we put out. And we want it to be the best that, you know, that represents Sunway Street. But I feel really fortunate that I have found someone in Steven who can write such great songs so often. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go into the story, originally it was COVID and Steven, I put a post on Instagram that said, hey, if anyone wants some drum tracks, free drum tracks, you know, I'm bored. We're all bored at home in COVID. And so Steven from Berlin reached out to me over Instagram and you know, hired me to play on a couple songs, and I instantly really fell in love with his voice and his songwriting, and I said, hey, let's keep doing this. And so we just kept doing it. And you know, it took a couple years before we met each other in person. We've only been together in person 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
3 separate occasions.
All right. So I have questions. All right. So, all right. So first, I think because I'm seeing you guys and the audience isn't, you're both, I mean, so you're musicians, you both have a bunch of instruments in the background.
Yeah.
Steven, it looks like you got like either a bass, it looks like a bass, a bunch of guitars back there, 12 string, a 6 string. Leor, you have a couple guitars, and before I saw some amplifiers, I see some drums off to a nice couch. And you mentioned before Steven jumped on, you had a recording studio over there someplace too. You're in your basement. So you both have, you know, the access to a plethora of instruments. I imagine some, you know, good ways to record in this day and age, and you're able to put your thoughts down, you know, musical thoughts down in a way that enable you to share pretty easily. And so I imagine that you're both relatively literate in terms of, like, you know, electronic, like not electronic music, but how to put your thoughts down, you know, with, you know, electronically engineering.
Yeah. The engineering side is I think I've just learned from being in the studio since 16, you know, like sitting in on sessions and doing work from all over the world, even in LA to Berlin to Ireland to Milan here, just working and watching and learning. As we met during COVID, I was actually living in that recording studio.
Oh, wow.
So I was just living in a little tiny room upstairs in Berlin, and every night I would go down and use like the original Neumanns and C12s and everything, and it was just like a kid in a toy store. Wow. You know? And being able to have that hands-on access was it wasn't everything, I would say, because I started to realize as you get into gear more and more, you realize that the take is more important. And so it was so important to go through that year crazy couple of years to also come back to the point of saying, yeah, but the take on my SM7B was just better, you know, and that was a hard thing to accept at first, but also a good thing to go through to understand that great gear doesn't always mean a great song.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so you are, you're Irish, right? You grew up in Ireland. Yeah. And you met while you were in Berlin, and now you're in Milan. And Leor, you're in Colorado.
I'm in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
So And you mentioned that you've only met 3 times. And where were those 3 times that you met? Stephen, did you come to Leor's? Leor, did you go to Stephen's? Like, what happened?
First time I went out to Colorado, and that was Leor taking a chance on a complete stranger who doesn't have much about him online or anything, and just flew in, and his family were more than gracious to welcome me there. And it was we just immediately went down to the studio and started writing.
Yeah, we went to Dave Wilton's. So he knows Dave Wilton. He's heard about Dave Wilton. So we went there, and I think as soon as I picked up Stephen from the airport, we were home, and then probably within a couple hours, we were already recording songs in my little studio here.
Wow.
It's like, I've got this song and that song, and just playing live together. We've never played live together. And then we booked some time with Dave Wilton and went over there and recorded a lot of vocals and violins and piano and stuff like that, and decided on a band name and that trip and stuff. Yeah,
it was kind of like me saying to Leor, hey, you want to make a band?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, why not? Because
we were, up until that point when we were putting out music, it was under Stephen Eli, under that name, but we were doing so much together, so much collaboration, that it felt more than just going out under Stephen's name. So we formed Sunway Street.
Yeah.
So have you guys played live? I mean, I know in the room, but have you guys played out live together? Like, okay.
We have, yeah. A couple of in Milan, we played. In Switzerland, we played a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so in the studio in Milan as well, here we played with guitarist and Leor drums. A lot of like running through, getting scratch tracks and collecting as much as possible while we're in the same room together. So I have like a million sessions on my desktop staring at me right now from all our let's do another groove, let's do another idea, let's do another thing. And it's mostly from those places where we delve into the songs that we come out with. Well 50-50, I'd say, between home and studio when we're together.
Have you guys found a way to collaborate? I mean, like we're doing, I mean, I know we're not collaborating musically now, but have you guys found a way to do this online where one of you, maybe Stephen, you can play and sing, and then Leor maybe like can do something kind of rhythmically in the background?
Live together?
Yeah, but live remote, like we're doing now. Is there a way that you guys can do that? Because I haven't found anything, and I didn't know if there was anything that you guys were aware of that you know to do.
I think the latency would be impossible.
That's what I think too. Yeah, no, that's what I found. I didn't know if there was something else I didn't know about.
I think there is some software out there that claims it can do it, but we just haven't put too much time and effort into it because, I don't know, at this point you can go see Stephen playing live, in a bunch of places versus we're not having to do Instagram live.
Oh, no. I was talking more about collaboration between you two as opposed to you guys trying to play like Instagram live. I was thinking that more from like a collaboration perspective, like working out songs together.
Oh, I think I think Leor can say the same thing. We're both in contact with each other more than our families at this point.
Oh yeah.
I send over a quick demo. I sent one this morning called Heart After Heart, and within 5 minutes, this line or this line, wow. And then I'm immediately on it. We don't like to let things sit too long. It's a fast process, we know when it's right. I give it to Leor, and when it comes back, I say, and that's not it. And he knows too. Mm-hmm. And then we both just accept, and we are serving the songs. I think we both are unique in that we're not coming from a very ego-driven place where we're like, I have to get my voice in this part, or I have to have my drum beat here, or we're just listening out for the song.
Yeah.
And I think that allows us to both be like, that's what the song deserves, and to stick closely to that without, we've collaborated with some people where we said, they're playing their instrument, but they're not playing the song.
Yeah.
And that's, me and Leor just have such a gel at this point where we both can almost look at each other and go, yeah, that's right. And then, it's amazing. Sometimes I get hugely surprised, and that's what I want from the music. I don't want to listen to something and not be surprised. And I think that's what I look out for when I'm listening to music myself, where it's like, that's totally different, even within 5 seconds. music should be exciting. And wow, you listen to Stevie Wonder, it's so crazy and wild, and you say that's exciting and surprising. And that's kind of what we're both trying to surprise each other. And
there's times where what really shocks me is that we've said songs to get released, on DistroKid from, like, okay, this song will come out in 2 months. And then a couple weeks later, we're just like, that song's not good anymore. Let's take it out. And we've done that a few times where suddenly we're just on the same page. Yeah. And we're really excited about a song, and maybe sometimes, we're too quick to a fault when it comes to music because, there's some people who, I'll listen to all these music podcasts where people talk about how they wrote a song and then they put it away for 6 months or a year or longer. And then they come back to it and they try this version and that version, all this different stuff. And we have some songs like that. I mean, we have 10 different songs called Kingdom and
more than 10.
Yeah. With different versions. And we've put one out, but it I noticed, Gregory does that too. Greg will really work on songs for a long time, and Joel, every singer songwriter, they do it, and it kind of happens in the moment. I have this weird thing that whenever I get sick or get COVID, like I recently got COVID, I am inundated with all this creativity and stuff, probably because I'm just quarantining in the basement. And I will write full songs and just send them to Steven, like full instrumentation. And it always happens when I have COVID for some reason. I don't know.
Your senses are dulled and you're half depressed and you're like, okay, now I can write.
It's a weird, COVID and just store them in your fridge and just take them every so often when you go through a lull, go through one of those creative,
could be worse. Yeah, we write a lot. The songwriting is endless. I think we already have another EP that's already nearly done. This morning we finished the track up. I was working on 2 others that Leor sent me, and I have a hard drive now, I think over 200 songs that are,
oh my god, just,
even more than 200. I'd say it's up on 3 or 4.
Wow.
I think how the best way to describe the relationship is Leor kind of acts like a producer towards me, and I act like a producer towards him. And in that way, we hold each other accountable for the work we're doing. And that's a very interesting thing because Leor pushes me to become a better artist for sure. Like, even if it's just like, hey, what do you think about that line? And, maybe in the past,
like a vocal line, you're talking about like an individual vocal line. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And in the past, I would have had that very headstrong, no, that's good. But then being able to open up and trust somebody else's judgment as an artist is a difficult thing to do. But when you find someone, you can do that too. And realize when you do it then and you listen back and you say, yeah, that is better. And then the longer that goes on, you start to trust more and more in someone's ability to allow you to be, to make mistakes. That's a big one, to sing something crazy and allow it to sit there and also have judgment in a fair space. That's not a criticism of the self, just a criticism of the overall vision of that song, And I think we do that very good back and forth. It's we can get very detailed, and also we can get very lazy if we like the vibe. Some things are very deliberately left. Like, we know that snare hit is out, or we know that isn't the perfect pitch thing. We could do it, but some things are just, I like it. We like the feeling. Leave it. And
well, let me ask you, I have a couple questions about, like, so you mentioned something where you had a track that was about to be released on DistroKid, I guess, and you were like, wait a second, now we don't like it, and it's a couple weeks later. Have you gone back to some of the earlier tracks that you released and you don't like those now? So, like, for example, like you go back to some of the earlier tracks and maybe you release them quicker than they just got really. So is it kind of like you're growing as artists in a way that you look back at what you did earlier and don't like it as much? And I don't need examples of, I'm not going to ask you for examples of a song if this is the case, but, or maybe I will, we'll see. But does that happen to you where you have grown or didn't like some of the choices, or maybe you didn't push each other in the same way back in 2022, 23 as you do now, and you kind of regret that? Has that been the case at all with some of your earlier work?
I think we've just grown. I think we've just grown since then. If you listen to our first EP, which is Young Fool, Clarity, and Forever in Gray. Young Fool was an old song of Stephen's, but a very popular one when he would play it live. It's probably our highest streamed song. But I don't know. It feels different from the stuff we're doing now. It feels like we've kind of gotten into who Sunway Street is and the voice of Sunway Street, where before it was like, oh, we've got some kind of catchy songs here that work well together and we know how to add them, and there's definitely snippets. May is another one that I absolutely love, which to me, it sort of feels like Forever in Gray. It feels like on the new album, You've Always Been Mine, kind of like, for me, it's that really slow singer-songwriter type song where the drums are so far behind, and it's a challenge for me as a drummer and as a percussionist, and but there's songs, on the new album. There's a song called Electric Lights and Broken Souls. And 6 months ago, when we first made that song, it was like David Gray meets Tame Impala or something, right? It was just like crazy. And Stephen and I, from time to time, make a rock song that we get super excited about. and then we realized, like, no, this doesn't fit with anything. And then he wrote another song one random day. And I was like, you should take the lyrics from Electric Souls and put it in here. And it was just a kind of a mashup, and it totally worked. And so this Electric Lights and Broken Souls, track 4 on Ghost Town, almost died, almost into the way, and then kind of was reborn into this whole new song. And I don't know, yeah, we definitely go back and forth all the time.
Sorry, it's interesting that you say that, because when I was listening to, a song like Young Fool, and I think even Nevermind, like, they do sound different than what's on the new album. And I didn't know if it was just, the technique, but you're also probably growing.
There's technique. Yeah. I mixed this whole new album. Those other songs were mixed by Dave Wilton.
Okay. But there's probably also growth, I would think, from you guys as artists, as well. I mean, you kind of expect to hear some change from album to album. Sometimes you hear it, sometimes you don't. But I was kind of wondering, like, I
think we're relating back to what I said before, and that we're pushing each other constantly and not allowing ourselves to rest on the idea that we're there yet, wherever there is. And I think those old songs, they all have a place, I think, and that place will be more obvious as we keep making records. Like you touch on stuff like Electric Lights and Broken Souls, or maybe say Burn It Down, and you might say these things are so left of field. But I think as we grow as a band, we're allowing space to be able to turn left, and to be able to jump off where we are creatively influenced, because we both love Radiohead, we both love Greg, we both love Covenhaven, we both love, this singer-songwriter to the roots, but we also, music needs place to go. And I'm also quite bored by music that I'm hearing at the moment. No criticism of anybody. I think a lot of artists feel the same way. It's like, where's something new? Where's the turn, and a lot is formulated, and a lot of our songs, like dipping into other areas, is a little exploration. Let's put it that way. And we're showing the listener the exploration. We're saying, okay, maybe this is hard to consolidate on a playlist of cozy coffee folk playlist, but we're not interested in that. We're interested in people who are joining us for this journey of exploration. And I think as we continue that, we'll become obvious even to us. We don't know yet where that will go, but I think maybe one day we will come out with a complete rock album or something, and we say, well, where's the barrier anymore, you know? And yeah, of course, people need something to hold on to, but how do you hold on to Prince, you know? Or look at Leonard Cohen's early work, you know, coming from the Master song to I'm Your Man. It's so different. And I think that the artists who stop exploring get stagnant. I want to, and I'm sure Leor does too, to be able to go there. I don't want to pigeonhole ourselves in any way. I want to be able, if we want to go complete crazy, I want us to be able to go there, you know? And yeah, the marketers say, oh my God, what are you doing? But I don't care. I want to make great music. And if that goes on weird topics, or I know me and Leor are always discussing certain albums that I want to bring out that are very out there, you know, but they will come out. You know? It has to, you know, because otherwise the story doesn't make sense, you know. And I think those old songs are an arc. You know, your song like Clarity is speaking about, you know, finding peace by the sea, but that theme has refined itself into this new album, you know, where instead of such a general idea, it comes down to like, well, have you looked at your shadow, or the work of Carl Jung's, the psychologist, and getting really deep into the detail to allow people to, I guess, find hope. That's, my brother asked me recently, why do you do it? Why do you play music? And it was exactly that reason. It was like, to keep people keeping on, actually, you know, people are sad out there, you know, are worried, and at least the music has some form of hope inside, you know, and that's important to keep going. All the artists do it for that reason, because we certainly don't get paid. There's no other reason, you know?
Yeah. You know, one of the things, as you're talking about, Stephen, you mentioned how you have, you know, 200, 300, 400, I don't know how many songs are on your hard drive, but how many of those songs that you have on your hard drive, because you can only send so many to Leor at one time. I mean, you can't you can't be like, okay, well, here's 300 songs, you know, see what you can do with them, because it's just like, it's overload, right? You got to work on one at a time. So when you wake up in the morning, what's, and this is really for either one of you, when you wake up, you get an idea, or you go to the hard drive and you listen to something that you're like, actually, this hits me differently. Like maybe I'm going to do something with this. What's the day look like? Because it sounds like you spend a lot of time, both of you, thinking about songs for Sunway Street and what to turn to, what to work on next. So what does that day look like, and how do these songs kind of come about? Well, like, is it a fraction of a song? Is it a snippet? Is it relatively well formed? Because I think you've kind of said both here. I mean, do you have like verse, chorus, bridge? You have a verse idea? Like what kind of gets thrown back and forth when you guys collaborate?
I think the songs that tend to make it, in my view, are the ones where I've sat down with the acoustic and they've come out in 5 minutes. And The Friend in Me is one flow, for example, and same with Rain in California. It's one flow, it's one take. All the words were in that moment. There was no retake. If you look at the cuts, it's one flow. So
you're not mush mouthing it. The words come off the top of your head.
Top of my head. Wow. Even in Friend in Me, I have a line where I say, I get a little bit stronger, but then I repeat it, but then it seems like it doesn't make sense because I'm just letting that flow go. But then I said to myself, well, it does make sense. You know, you tell yourself you want to get stronger because it's a toxic thing. But then you say, oh, but if I get a little bit stronger, I'm going to be better. And I said, when I look back, I say, how did those songs come? I don't think any songwriter, if they're being honest, can really tell you. It's if I was to take a guess, it's pattern recognition, and I observe a lot. I'm a solitary person in that I sit in a cafe and the Chinese across from me and drink a coffee and watch the old men playing slot machines and people walking their dog, coming in and observing and seeing all those feelings around me, and suddenly a song is there in 2 or 3 minutes. And I think that's half the battle, is waiting for it to cook. Like my partner is always telling me I'm boiling to the point a song is out straight away, a poetry or song, it's one flow. And I think then that rough flow is sent immediately to Leor, and then I think the sonic value is definitely strongly in Leor's hands in that department. The color, I would say, he colors in the poetry. I would say that's a big part of where my side comes from, is more Leonard Cohen side or Dylan, or and Leor's side is the color. Yeah, let's put it that way.
And how about from your perspective, Leor? What how does your journey start? Either when you receive or when you send a song to Stephen? So it sounds like Stephen sends you something that's kind of somewhat formed and you color it, like you said. But if you send something to Stephen, what is it? What do you expect to get back from him?
So there's a lot of times where Stephen will send me 1 minute or 2 minutes of a song idea, and I'll basically give him the thumbs up or thumbs down and say,
make a bridge. That's the only thing.
Yeah, it sounds great. Make a bridge, make an outro, do that. Yeah, always. It's Mr. No Bridge over here. So I'm always making him make a bridge. And I'll tell him up front, right away, I don't like that one, or it's the wrong key or the wrong, BPM or whatever. When I write a song, I don't write many songs. I will sit at my piano and write a riff and just send him a voice note. And the thing is that you can send Stephen anything and he can make a melody and lyrics to it in 2 seconds. I'm a terrible lyricist. I just write cheesy love songs, and Stephen doesn't. Stephen writes love songs, but not all the time. I can only write love songs. And so I don't tend to write many lyrics. I'll have lyrical ideas. Hey, change this word or that word, or why are you always singing about this one topic? But I also have a day job. I work at a music company called Output. And so I have to wait the whole day. I'm thinking about the song, listening to it over and over throughout the day, getting excited to then work on it, at the end of my, right, for an hour or two after dinner or something, or at night. And so it's a good exercise in restraint to not be able to kind of work on it right away, unless it's the weekend or something, or I have COVID. And, I've got millions, not millions, but I have lots and lots of voice notes that are just a guitar riff that I don't generally like to record myself playing a whole guitar song, because I feel like Stephen should learn the song and let the lyrics kind of form with it, with the playing and the strumming. Our strumming styles are different. Stephen's a much better guitar player than I am. And so if I can give him a riff that he can then get into and then be like, okay, I'm going to pause here, I'm going to speed it up here, or do whatever. They kind of go hand in hand, where a drum beat, can kind of change, drastically. Many times, my favorite band's this is a hot take, but I'm not a fan of Leonard Cohen. My favorite bands are Rage Against the... Yeah. I know that's a terrible thing to say, and I can appreciate his genius and that sort of stuff, but I can't. My favorite bands are Rage Against the Machine and old 90s hip hop, and I'm so all over the place.
I guess we can keep on going with the Rage Against the Machine reference. You're okay now.
Yeah,
you're back in my good graces.
So even my playlist here, Tribe Called Quest, Rage Against the Machine, Genesis, just random. Yeah. And so I know that it's important to challenge yourself as a musician to constantly listen to new stuff, new music all the time, new genres. I sent Stephen yesterday someone I found she's a Swedish singer-songwriter. I don't speak a word of Swedish, but the songs that I heard on that EP were great, and they moved me. If something moves you, that's enough to inspire you and say, hey, I want to try and write a song like that.
I think you can see where the producer side comes from on Leor's, and he's too humble to give himself that title, but I would say for sure he's always listening to so much color, and from many angles, and I think that side of it is the surprising side of the music. You know, if it was me, it'd probably be a little broken guitar and a microphone, you know. That would be it, you know. And I need color because I get bored of a singer-songwriter.
Well,
you know,
you guys do something like, and the only reason why I saw this is because you guys gave me early access to the album that you're putting out, and one of the tags on it is lo-fi. And I wouldn't have thought of that at first, but on one or two of the songs that you guys put out, like, it kind of makes sense. And I think, you know, and I'm trying to remember, but I think one of them is, you know, Lovers in the Moonlight or Midnight Sun. One of them is like, you know, it's like, now I do hear it. It actually feels different than a bunch of the other songs. And lo-fi is kind of like the perfect word for it. It actually, it feels like, I mean, lo-fi is, I mean, it's kind of the perfect, you know, description of it. And,
it's lo-fi on expensive equipment. So.
Right, where there's Neumann microphones and everything else that you said. But those are choices that you made to make it lo-fi. It's not because you're recording it on an iPhone or something like that. It's actually lo-fi on expensive equipment, like you said, because you're making that choice. It's interesting. I don't know if I have a question in there or anything like that, but that's kind of the producer, you know, angle.
Yeah, I guess and it serves the narrative of the story of Ghost Town, you know. If you want to go into this esoteric, you know, Lovers in the Moonlight, you're both staring up at the moon, and this feeling, it's about feeling, you know, you're lost in this moment, almost looking at it from a distance. And that lo-fi feeling is touching. We're using the equipment and the production style to also tell a story. Then it adds to the narrative rather than just saying, oh, we're using it because it's kind of cool, you know. There's also, it's like Leor, the first time he played drums, he played a drum, and he played a kind of skipping beat at the end of one of the songs I wrote. I was like, man, I wrote that part like a girl skipping through a meadow. He was like, yeah, I know, that's what I was playing on the drums. And I was like, how did you get that? You know, how I never met a drummer who was able to speak musically with the drums. And same with the production. We're always adding little nuggets probably that no one ever hears or understands, but for ourselves that we say, oh yeah, we left, you know, the kid fell on the piano, and we left it in, or, you know, little touching moments for ourselves that we know that's in there. And it goes as far as that lo-fi. We say, okay, this is dreamy and washed out, and I want that feeling to be there for the listener, that they're fully drawn into that world, you know. You know,
it's interesting. So when I listen to, or when I read music critics, right, and I'm not a music critic, I don't understand music critics, and I don't understand how they write what they write often, but when I hear you talking about the way that you're talking about, like, what your choices are when you record, it's almost similar to the way that when I read music critics, except that you're talking about all these choices that you made. Yours are intentional because you're the artist, you're the one making it, but it's also, you're talking about things that most people will never hear or never be able to describe or never be able to say about a song, but they're also integral to the experience of the song. So whether or not I will, like, the average listener will ever hear and understand that, you know, piano bang is in there because a kid slipped or whatever it is, it's still part of that experience of listening to the song. Now, the reason why I brought up music critics is because I listen to it, like, I see a lot of them, and I'm wondering how many of those music critics are actually really reflecting on the choices that the artists are making, or how many of them are just making it about a whole cloth. I mean, that's what I was wondering. But it is interesting to me to think about the choices that you make as producers, as artists and things, because that lo-fi, if I didn't read the word on there, I don't think I would have said that, but it certainly did. It certainly felt something about that song to me, about, you know, and then when I saw the word lo-fi, I was like, yeah, that's what it is. But it was certainly part of that experience of listening to the song to me. But I never would have probably, you know, if I was a music critic, well, I would never be a music critic. So I don't have that. I don't have enough words in my vocabulary, but, you know, I wouldn't have written the lo-fi, you know, take on it. But it really was an interesting,
I mean, the lo-fi comes from just what plugins I used to effect, you know, had I not used some of those plugins, Steven's guitar would have sounded more natural.
right,
than versus Lovers in the Moonlight. And, I'm sort of new to, not sort of, I'm new to mixing, right? I never really mixed until this band. And I could see where I was going down this rabbit hole of watching every YouTube video about how to do every single mixing trick and plugin and this and that.
Yeah.
And then I kept hearing over and over people say, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is your taste. And so I thought of this like project to do, not an exercise where you take your favorite songs that you like and listen to them and write down why they're your favorite songs, what excites you about it, whether it's the chord progression or the energy or a lyric or just the sound of the bass or the guitar, and then use those things that excite you in your own music. And so for Lovers in the Moonlight, which is a pretty lo-fi song, I just like that sound of a lo-fi guitar. I challenge myself to like use as little cymbals as possible, use as many as little drum mics as possible. How can I just make this sound different? I don't know. I kind of approach it, on something like Midnight Sun or That's Not My Shadow, even Ghost Town. Those are songs where I feel like I'm cheating on the drums because Steven's guitar playing is so great. I turn the snares off. I just take out some mallets and I'm literally just hitting like random drums in some sort of rhythmic pattern. But I could never recreate those again. But it just, and I've done that. I did that recently in a session with a band too. And it just works with this whole mallet kind of, you're just feeling it, right? I'm just listening to the lyrics. I'm listening to his feeling and emotion. Aaron Sterling, he's a fantastic session drummer who plays with, everyone. And even Nate Smith, another incredible drummer. Those are two of my people that I look up to. I've been to master classes with them and they say the same thing. You have to listen to the singer. You have to play to the singer.
Yeah.
Steve Gadd has a story, 50 Ways to Lose a Lover. When he came into that session, Paul Simon was like, all right, I want you to do this and this and this. And he said, no, what's the song about? And he told him what the song about. And that's how he came out with that iconic drum beat that everyone, strives to learn because of the lyrics of the song. And so, I don't know. I think that's where my playing, there's definitely times where I go crazy and I send Steven fucking, me rocking out and playing really loud, and he's like, all right, we got to try that again.
I'm glad you had fun. Let's try take two.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There's songs like that. But then I tone it back.
So what did you do to the guitar to make it lo-fi though? So, because when I think lo-fi on guitar, I'm a guitar player. I think like tape echo and things like that just kind of decays and makes it because I'm an electric guitar player mostly. I do play a lot of acoustic, but I don't do a lot of recording like you do. Like I'm not the engineer type of guy. So I just would say something like make it lo-fi, and then somebody would do whatever you did on it. So what did you do to the guitar to make it? There's
a plugin, a Universal Audio plugin that I used. What is it called? Like Verve Machines or something.
Oh yeah. Okay. I know that one. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Honestly, I have a lot of plugins, but I really just tend to use, some, and sometimes I'll challenge myself to, let's try and use this different thing or this different compressor. The Galaxy Space Echo, that's a great one. I use that often on Steven's voice. So,
but it also could be that I made a really bad acoustic recording.
No. There's so many great Safari Pedals. Safari Pedals is a great company out of Israel, and they make a lot of really great plugins that sound phenomenal. And I use their stuff a lot.
So that's really cool. So you're just that's a lot of experimentation. You're just, let's try this, and you tend to like the sound.
It's just what makes me excited. If it makes me excited in the moment, then I go with it.
Yeah.
So Steven, you have to do, I guess it's good that you have your, so much experience in studios and things like that. So you do your vocals and your guitar from Milan or wherever you are.
I do a combination of at home and in the studio in Milan, real sound recording. Do
you still work in a studio, or do you have to go rent the time? Or
I rent the time, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
But mostly it's at home. I mostly do it. I found working in the studio I work with a guy called Hector sometimes in Milan, and it's a great experience. But also, it's about the moment. I really, after I think 15, 16 years recording now, I see that it doesn't matter where I am, even if the room is bad. It does not matter. It's about catching that moment of inspiration. And most of my day is spent from the outside eye doing nothing. It's like sitting, having a cup of tea, watching. And then suddenly there's 5 minutes, I hop onto the computer and say, I have to record right now.
Right.
And the mics will not be placed perfectly. I have 2 mics for episode now, and I have a marble floor. And I've heard so many musicians talk themselves out of recording because of the perceived limitations they have due to gear. It's not about the gear. It's not about the microphone. It's about the inspiration coming through you and catching that. And other people have reiterated that more recently, but it is just true. Yeah, a great microphone can definitely bring out a great performance, and depends, of course, what type of artist you are and what you want to make. If we're talking about pristine pop and, making things really polished and compressed perfectly, you probably do need a great studio for that. But I think we're waiting for inspired moments. That's what we're doing. And I think the gear doesn't matter. I don't think none of that matters.
I just watched a video of this artist. His name was Steve Lacy, or I think in the hip hop community or something, R&B. He records his entire album on his phone in GarageBand.
Wow.
He sings into his phone. He makes beats in GarageBand. There's a whole video about him. He takes a pop filter, puts it up to his iPhone, and sings through it. And that's kind of his thing. And that's his particular sound. And he sounds great. There's great. I think even that Shin song that was in Garden State, he recorded that with just a SM57 and like a Casio keyboard.
Wow.
So we're not putting down expensive gear. We love great gear,
Yeah.
And there is important, but at the end of the day, what's most important is the take.
It's most important is the take. I think, and messing around and just having fun with the stuff that's at hand. It's funny, like you mentioned all the guitars that are at the start of the interview that are behind me, but I don't think one of them is mine. And it's like the universe brings you stuff, when you're ready to make a record and ready for it. I had one friend come in, he had an nylon with him, dropped it off, made most of the record on that nylon guitar.
Yeah.
Another friend dropped in a 12-string. My partner owns a bass and brought it up from Napoli inside of Italy. And 2 guitars from a street musician from Ireland, dropped them in as he's passing through my house. And I have a bunch of guitars I'm ready to make a record with. But it's funny, then other people might look at the guitars and say, oh, you have everything you need. But there's many times you don't. You have what you have for that moment. I mean, everyone could come tomorrow and take all the guitars, and then I maybe have one guitar left, to make what I make. But I think my philosophy is
my mailman brings me all my stuff, so it's a little different.
My motto it comes from Stephen Eli. The Eli comes from Jason Eli Becker. He's the guitar player from Cacophony, and he can't move. He got Lou Gehrig's disease, and so he composes with his jaw. He's a documentary called Not Dead Yet, or something like that, Not Dead Yet. And he clicks the mouse with his jaw and moves the mouse with his eyes. And he created an album like this. And he played with David Lee Roth back in the 80s. He's still alive. He was given like 5 years to live. And his philosophy was never stop making music. And so I took his middle name, Eli. And that's where Stephen Eli comes from, because I have the same philosophy. It doesn't matter what's going on. I've lived in squats in Berlin. I've lived in crazy situations, running around the world, but I always found time to make music, even if it was in the squat in Berlin with a mattress on the floor, with one piece of paper on the ground and writing. It didn't matter. I knew, just keep writing. That's the philosophy in which I follow. Yeah, it's always going to be that way for me.
It's really interesting. One of my sons, his middle name is Eli as well. And yeah, I'm gonna have to point that out to him because I didn't know that story. That's really pretty cool.
Yeah. It's Eli, what is like not God or something like that, or something, or
I believe it means is a gift. I've one. It's something about God. Yeah. Is it gift from? No, gift from God's Nathaniel. I forget. It's something about God. Yeah. I forget what it means.
Second or not or something like that.
Yeah. That's neat. So one thing I wanted to ask you guys about, so you don't tour a lot. You're relatively new, but you've managed to get a pretty good following from a streamer perspective.
Yeah.
You've done quite well, especially, so 35,000, I'm just looking at the latest stat on Spotify is what I use, is what I, unfortunately or fortunately or what, however you want to look at it. I'm not psyched on the whole Spotify thing, but it is what I use. It's pretty respectable for a band that isn't out there touring all the time. Mm-hmm. You don't look like you're super active on social media. How do you get such a good follow? That's good. That's really, for a band that isn't out there touring and doing it, as much as, I know that you're out there a bit, Stephen, but it's not like you're living life on the road. It's pretty good. What do you guys do to get such a good, following on Spotify's streaming's following?
Great question. I think if we could tap into that answer more often, we'd be far more successful. But
if you need double it,
the truth is we don't really, people write us all the time and say thank you for the music you made, and we get a lot of messages, like I get a lot of private messages saying, oh, this song helped me through a really hard time. And I think we're tapping into a feeling that's emerging in the collective consciousness at the moment, which is people want to get past their suffering, and I think we're tapping into that, and we're not providing answers, and we don't have the answers, but we're touching on something that all the artists through the centuries have touched on, is like Cohen, like Dylan, is providing a little hope, I guess, in dark times. That's what it is, and in stressful times and heavy times, and those burdens are out there, and people are wondering how to get by. They're suffering. That's it. And that's what mostly where the messages come from, are people who were saying thank you. I had a mental breakdown, or I lost someone in the family, and we do delve into heavy topics. Like we're not a band it's not bubblegum pop, for sure not. Yeah.
But from a I guess a marketing perspective, we do a lot of the same things that many independent artists do, right? For the reason we have a lot of songs out there is because for a while we were doing singles every 6 weeks. We were putting out a new song, and we were, getting playlisted, and we always get on Spotify radio and Spotify algorithmic playlists and things like that. And, as far as social media, we were for a while doing a lot of kind of the generic stuff that everyone does. Hey, everyone, how's it going? I'm here, eating a sandwich. And we kind of got sick of that, and we got rid of all that. And we're doing something more intentional now, something more, that
if it doesn't speak,
resonates with me and Steven. And how many times, like if you go through your feed, how many musicians are sitting there staring at the camera in their bedroom in their pajamas playing a song, like a new song, and I don't know, we don't want to do that anymore.
I don't want to,
it's not enough to be a musician. You have to be a content creator, unfortunately.
I can't do something that's not an artistic expression. I can't feed people with propaganda. I also don't want to tell people how to live. And I think a lot of people are confusing what it is to be a musician and an influencer. I don't want to influence nobody, and I think a lot of musicians are confused what it actually entails to become the thing they're posting about. They're telling people, oh, look at me, I'm eating this sandwich and I did the gym today. But kids see that and copy them, and they do become the thing that and I don't know, I never saw Cohen telling anybody anything how to be or not to be. He's just telling people live the way you are, and celebrate that.
Right.
And I think there's not enough of that. I'm starved as a listener too. I think Leif Vollebeck is a rare exception this year, where I listened to his album and I said, thank you. Just thank you for creating this, because it's just a work of beauty, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's
Tom Odell as well.
Odell as well. It just is what it is. And he's not telling me anything or telling me, even, you can look at the roots of Coldplay coming from a very sincere place to telling everyone everything is ultimate love. Well, it's also not for a lot of people, That's also the paradox of creating something like music, which has words, and you have to be careful not to tell people, because you don't know, and that's the truth. And if you're not telling the truth, what are you telling? So that's well, I want to be very careful how to not go there, and keep in check on that, because people are very quick to catch on to thinking, like you say to us that question, the Spotify, the real true answer. And if record labels knew that answer, everyone on their roster would be famous. Mm-hmm. The truth is nobody knows. And there's a guy just on TikTok suddenly blew up with one guitar riff playing a Nirvana-esque song, and now he's huge. Oliver Anthony blew up one song. Nobody knows. It's the moment, it's the time, it's the look, it's the pulse of the feeling of the times. And you're on that or not, and you're lucky to hit it commercially or not, or you make something timeless and it hits in 5 years. Cigarettes After Sex, he quit for 7 years, and someone found his music after 7 years and said, wow, incredible, and blew up. So I think this trying to quantify a means of order in order to form success is something we tell ourselves that works. I've never seen it happen. I've worked with artists who blow up and it was like, oh, you're on the radio. Why? I have no idea. And I think that's a much more healthy approach, to be honest about that, towards our society too. Because otherwise you have everyone chasing a carrot that doesn't even exist,
Yeah. Because you always read about these algorithms and what you chase. And if you spend any time on any social media, there's always people promising you that they can help you, break through the algorithms by doing something or other.
That's the playing on the hope, that's playing on people's hope. And I think that's such a sick way things have turned.
Exactly.
It's just, I'd love people to realize it's a lie. Work on your art. That's all.
Right. So looking forward, what are you guys looking to do in the next, I know you're going to keep on releasing music, obviously, because it just seems like you can't really help it with these hundreds of songs on your hard drives and, sending stuff to each other every day. But are you guys going to tour any of this stuff together? I know you have other commitments. What are you looking to do looking forward?
I think the plan is for Steven to come out here to the US next summer. And we put some shows together probably around here in the Colorado area. I don't know, potentially maybe you're going to do some shows with Joel and Covenhoven maybe in the spring in Europe.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. He said he was going to. He was talking about going over there on the episode that I did with him. He's going to do some touring in Europe. That'd be awesome.
So potentially they go out together. We're actively looking for a booking manager who could help us in Europe or the US. And
I think our best bets is probably that maybe it goes against conventional wisdom of the day of like, probably need a label, and we probably need a label to back us. And what we're doing right now is showing that on a smaller scale that is viable, and it does resonate, because for the small budget we have such an output. And I think if that's scaled where we can do more, and that probably just takes investment at the end of the day. And that's the truth. I think we're ready for that.
Yeah.
It's just finding the right team. And that's, until then, we're just going to keep creating. On the business side, we're just waiting for that right moment where hopefully, and of course looking for someone to see the obvious potential here, get us opening acts, get us on front, get us opening for your band. Even if it's in Europe, if a band is coming here, I can open with a guitar. In the US with me and Leor, we're waiting for that moment. And also a song can help, a song off the new album. I think we have some great songs on Ghost Town that can really resonate and push us up. And that's the thing, we're doing this independently. I think it's kind of crazy. We are getting the numbers we're getting with just two of us. We're running everything at the moment. It's people are tuning in. It's obvious. We would love that little push. That's probably a label, I guess. Yeah. And a booking agent. It's probably the next steps, I guess.
I wish there was more of a scene, and I wish there was more of a music scene. I mean, I don't want to put down if there is a music scene, but in Italy, because I love visiting Stephen in Italy. I really do. And so I would love to go there and just go around, but it just seems very different. Yeah. And in Italy specifically, the music, it feels like there's definitely an affinity for kind of like punk music and then like traditional Italian music. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of...
I mean, Europe is so small. I play in Germany, I play in France and Switzerland and Italy and Ireland. I played a couple of weeks ago, and it's much smaller than the US. But yeah, we don't really have like that proper mid-sized club scene. That's kind of all wiped out since COVID, a lot. So it's either you're playing in quite lower levels or you're playing on big, huge stage,
Well, we're almost at we're actually probably about at our hour. So I have 3 questions that I ask everybody, which I don't know if you guys have ever listened to one of these episodes, but I think one of them isn't going to really apply that much to you in your current outfit, but you can answer in any way that you'd like. But the first question that I ask, and I'm doing this a little bit differently now, where I'm going to ask you this question so you can come back to it. So it's tell me about a band or musician that you think we should watch out for, someone who's up and coming. And I feel like people don't like that one because they feel like if they mention somebody, they're putting other people they're worried that they're giving someone else not giving them the props they deserve. But I'd like you to tell us someone that we should be watching out for. So that one we'll come back to. So I'll give you a few minutes to think about that one. The next one is I like to ask about a disaster performance because I always think these are fun. And Joel had probably my favorite one so far, which was Red Rocks, because his disaster performance is like also everyone's dream performance to play at Red Rocks. And it was his high school graduation, but just, hell, I do a sound check at Red Rocks. Just to play anything at Red Rocks would be amazing. And his disaster was Red Rocks. So I just think that's incredible. So do you guys have any disaster performances that you can tell us about?
Do you, Leor?
Yeah.
You guys can both go. We have 2 of you, so
I remember when I was quite young, I was playing on stage, and I was in this Celtic group, and we were playing traditional Irish music, and it was quite important and big crowd, maybe 1,500 people, and the microphone was on front of me, and I was playing the song, and I'm the only one. It's a bodhrán, like an Irish drum and guitar. And if I stop, the whole band is out because we're singing 4 harmonies at the same time. And as I was playing, the microphone started to slowly just drift down like this. And I couldn't stop, because if you stop in this music, you're finished. The harmony is so important. And I had to keep bending down with the microphone while singing until the point I was nearly halfway on my knees in front of all these people. And until someone finally noticed, I was trying to get somebody from the stage crew to notice. And so I think, being halfway down on my knees in front of 1,000 people was definitely a disaster. Yeah. But we did well in the end, and they loved it. So it was all right. So, but that was embarrassing. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Leor, what do you got?
I was in a band, and I ended up quitting the band in the middle of the gig, in the middle of the show. literally packing up my drums on stage. It's a little stage, but on stage, and leaving. There were some long standing issues, but this particular night, the singer had just too much to drink and was being quite an ass of himself. And I was done. That was the turning point. So I just started packing up my stuff.
What about
Yeah, that was one in college. In college, I played at the orientation, the student orientation. We were like a Red Hot Chili Peppers cover band, tribute band. And for whatever reason, we were done. And I was, I thanked the audience and stuff because I like worked for the university. And then I asked them for feedback for some reason about the performance. So these kids, these freshmen started like just tearing us apart about our cover band. I'll never forget it. I mean, it was so long ago, and I feel so bad that I did that for the other guys because they were just like, "Your singer sucks," and like, oh, it was just. What
about when we played earlier on the no kick drum?
Oh yeah, once Steven and I played a gig, I didn't have a drum set, so I had a mallet. And a friend of ours gave me a snare drum, and I used my suitcase as the kick drum.
People are coming up and
so I'm just going boom.
Suitcase.
Yeah.
So
you got to do what you got to do.
That doesn't sound like a disaster, though. It sounds like you made do with what you had. I mean, that's
it was fun.
That's awesome. And I got to say that your first disaster story sounds like it might have been, even more of a disaster for the people that you were playing with, because all of a sudden, I mean, no matter how drunk the guy was, now they got no drummer. I mean, so that sounds like a real disaster for them.
It was not like a huge venue, but it was memorable, and hopefully
definitely memorable.
Hopefully never happens again.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And would you guys give yourselves, what advice would you give yourselves when you started? Like, could you go back in time and like give yourselves some advice when you were first starting out? What would it be?
Don't
invest in Bitcoin. That's probably what I would tell myself.
Seriously, right? Yeah, you wouldn't have to work. You wouldn't have to do your day job anymore. That's for sure.
I would say, don't listen to too many people in terms of producers, and I got a lot of people in my ear telling me how things should be, and often that came from voices that were not artists, and it took a long time for me to shake all of that perspective, to get very free and say, but I think it's part of the process, just to be like, you know what do you know? Like, you're just like me. I'm also clueless, and you are too, and I think it took me a long time. I would have told myself, trust yourself, trust your vision, trust your own vision fully. And
don't ask the audience for feedback.
Don't ask the audience for feedback.
Don't,
Feed the audience, and that's it.
Yeah.
If they like it, they like it. If they don't, I'm still not getting paid.
Yeah. Well, I got to say that's actually not an uncommon one, because I think every artist has to kind of go through that journey of finding out what, you are making music for an audience, for people, but if you're not happy with what you're putting out, it's not, there's really no point. You're doing it for yourself first, and you're trying to find the people that appreciate what you're doing. You're not writing it for a cohort of people. You're writing it for yourself and trying to find the people that it resonates with, I think. So
for sure. It's like a constant unlayering and unlearning of influences, that I think that's the process I start to recognize, is like all these prejudices and biases and cultural views start to unlayer. And the more you go on, the more you start to see, like, I don't think like that. I don't believe that. I don't, and it's a strange process for sure, but it's a journey. As you said, I think you have to go through that. I wouldn't also say to a young kid, don't do that. So it's hard to say to yourself, don't do it, or give yourself advice from the past, because it made me who I am now, I guess, so it's tricky, it's tricky to say. So maybe I just completely discounted what I said before.
Yeah. Well,
I would just tell myself to learn piano.
Really?
I wish I had taken the time to really learn piano and not just fake it like I do now.
Piano's great.
Or I like your Bitcoin advice, because then you can pay somebody to teach you piano. I
have, it's not like I've got not several, but I've got, a Wurlitzer here, a piano upstairs. But when you're my age, of 85. You don't have the time. You don't have the. Yeah. Your brain's not a sponge like it is when you're a teenager, and you could sit there and learn scales and things. That's just that. I mean, that's a regret, but it's also advice that I would.
In Ireland, we also call that an excuse.
Have you tried forcing your kids to play piano?
I have. So they both took lessons. My teenager is actually she has a great musical ear, and like me is very stubborn and wants to do everything by ear, or she just does it by TikTok videos now. And so she's essentially taught herself guitar. She can play many songs on guitar, comes down here all the time, gets that telly and plays.
She did the cover art as well for the album.
Yeah, She do it. That's something she painted in elementary school, but that is her artwork. I've gotten her to play guitar on
something she painted in elementary school
here and there.
The one on Ghost Town, the cattail looking things.
She painted that in 5th grade, and she's in 10th grade now. So she's
that's pretty cool.
She's a very good artist. She has the ear. My other one does not really have the musical ear. She's more of a
entertainer.
She's more of an entertainer, a gymnast and that sort of thing. But I forget the question now.
All right, well, that was
piano. So they took piano, but it didn't stick.
All right, and now the band or musician we should watch out for. One from each of you. You had plenty of time to think now.
Well, shameless self-promotion. My indie rock band Black Moon Howl has a new album out called The Wheel, which is really great.
Excellent.
So if you can check it, Black Moon Howl. But a band, someone that I'm really into lately, is this band called Kylie Daly. She's been putting out a couple singles that I really like. Has an album out earlier. It's sort of lo-fi. Buzzword of the day, lo-fi here. But I really like her stuff, aside from, the other people we mentioned, Leaf and Tom Odell and stuff like that. But they're already up.
And Stephen?
I have a good friend, actually. Michael Benjamin is his name. And I think he's amazing. He makes beautiful ethereal music. He was originally known as Native, but he's Michael Benjamin now, and he's a song that got quite big. Ocean, it was like 15 million views, but he's making a new album at the moment. He's still just slogging it out like the rest of us, but he's incredible. His new work, I've heard it in the studio, is beautiful.
Great.
He's a great artist. He really is. He should be more known for the work he does. Yeah, I think he's a guy you should definitely check out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sunway Street, Stephen, Leor, thank you guys so much for spending so much time with me today. This is great. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time as well. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That was my conversation with Sunway Street. I'd like to thank Leor and Stephen for coming on and spending so much time with me. I hope you enjoyed that. It was really interesting to hear all those details about how they record together from so far away. And sorry if we geeked out a little too much, but hopefully you got a lot out of it. We are going to end the podcast today with a song called Nevermind, one of the songs that grabbed me from Sunway Street, and I hope that you like it too. So here it is.
Wise men praise for forgiveness with a lonely heart and the moon upon his eyes. I wish you peace in the morning where the harvest grows, where the people come and go. And all alone, I saw the reason that you love me. And all alone, I try till it all goes flashing by. Do you feel that love inside? No, but never mind. She comes and goes in a whisper, with a lightning strike. Your fear ain't wrong or right. And all alone I saw the reason that you love me. And all alone I tried, until it all goes flashing by. Do you feel my love inside? No. And all alone I saw the reason that you love me. And all alone I tried, and all alone I saw the reason that you love me. And all alone I tried, until it all goes flashing by. Do you feel my love inside? No, never mind.